What's up, comic fans out there? I'm Short of the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is IMPERIUS REX.
Yeah.
Today's show, we'll be going over X-Men Age of Apocalypse, the timely title.
Yes.
For the movie coming out. Sit back, hopefully enjoy the show. So, Age of Apocalypse. Then
Troy, I feel before we get into
you want to give a backstory?
Yes, to this room that we're now in.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
This is the original studio that IMPERIUS REX first broadcast from.
Command Center 1.
Exactly, yes. On the moon.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Satellite location.
Mm-hmm.
And it is revamped.
Yep.
For anyone that was worrying, the sub pump is installed. Our water problem is just fine now. It's been cleared up. And while we were at it, the remodel, I was like, you know what, I'm going to turn my shitty office into a nice little comic cavern like you yourself have in Studio 2.
Yes.
So, put my contractor to work, and this is what we have here. Now, I have a nice little display for all my shit.
Quite nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, here we are. Long time coming.
Can we just stare at it for 30 minutes?
Yes.
And then...
Might get more out of it than us trying to explain X-Men mythology.
Yeah. Oh, also another backstory. We were going to have a guest for our Age of Apocalypse.
We sure were. A true X-Men expert.
Yes.
Oh, I should have emphasized that way more.
You figured it out already through the word.
Halfway through.
Damn it.
I tried to emphasize the pert because it was all. It was right as it was leaving my lips. But he couldn't make it.
Right.
So we're just going to try to power
our way
on
through it.
Yes.
X-Force our way through it.
Oh man, nice.
Thank you. So X-Men Age of Apocalypse, timely since the Age of Apocalypse movie.
I feel we should start out by
starting over. Yeah, got it.
No, maybe giving a little background on X-Men themselves, because correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a big X-Men fan.
They're my least favorite group in the Marvel Universe, probably.
Okay. Over the Inhumans?
I don't know.
At this point, it's kind of the same thing, right?
The very few Inhuman stories that I've read, I've really liked, but I've also read a lot more X-Men I didn't like.
Okay.
There you go.
So the ratio, it's kind of balanced.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge X-Men fan, but I have to always... They hold a special place in my heart because the Fox
the
92 X-Men, I feel like that was very instrumental in kind of jump-starting my love of comics and superheroes as a kid. I remember watching it with my dad growing up and really enjoying it. It had like very mature themes and subject matter for a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
So like immediately I was drawn to it, and there's times when I was watching it I was like, should I be watching this?
Yeah.
And I always enjoyed it. I have them all on DVD. So, like, you know, X-Men is convoluted and weird and just all over the place as it is. I always kind of have a liking for it.
Mm-hmm. Age of Apocalypse, I remember vaguely in 92 they tackled it a little bit, but it's not as vast as what the comic ended up being.
No, the animated series? Yeah. They might have summed it up in like two episodes
maybe. No, probably just 2.
Yeah.
13 different titles, 39 issues, and I was like trying to see how it was collected afterwards, and it wasn't collected until like
omnibuses, right?
Yeah, like 2005 or right around then. They collected in 3 big chunks. Mm-hmm. And I think they even threw more in there that was like prequels and stuff and side stories. I don't know.
It wasn't large enough.
And then in like 2010, the big massive tome omnibus came out, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I think I've seen that one too. It is just impressive.
Yeah.
Sheer mass.
I've considered buying it, but I'm like, that I can guarantee I will never read that. There's plenty of stuff on my shelf that like, it's not on the top of my list. I'd love to get to it sometime.
Yeah.
That would just scrape the bottom. I know it. I would never read it. And it's full-on 90s art and everything. It's just...
Yeah.
Was that like the first big crossover for Marvel? Was that the start of their big universe-spanning crossovers?
Well, they did Secret Wars in like the 80s, where Spider-Man got his black costume and stuff. Mm-hmm. But back then they were so infrequent. It was like this 90s boom where they did a lot of X-Men big events, where they did like Age of Apocalypse, Days of Future Past, the rest, whatever they are.
Age of Apocalypse was after Days of Future Past, but I mean, X-Men were all the rage in the 90s. Yeah. This was probably right around the cartoon too, where that huge mega series or whatever you want to call it spanned.
There's like 40 different X-Men titles.
And I remember when it happened, they canceled every X-Men book. Mm-hmm. So like for the comic shop guy ordering these, and all of a sudden every title is canceled, and those are like their bread and butter. It's like, was the whole thing just a joke, just a big goof to play on them, where they'd be like, can you imagine what the comic book guys are going to say when these are all canceled in the solicits?
When the movie was announced that Apocalypse is in it, a lot of people were like, yes, Apocalypse! And I don't remember Apocalypse fondly, even in the cartoon, so I'm like, so what's his deal? Like, he's a mutant, but he's got, like, pipes on his arms, and he's got these
the 90s mutant powers, where he was just impressive looking. And could kind of do everything.
Yeah.
Plot kinesis, I think, is the term for it, where he can do whatever the plot, needs him to do.
Yeah. And maybe he was tampered by aliens? I can't remember if he was or not.
I like the mythology that Apocalypse is the first mutant. Mm-hmm. Like, very first one, and he's a big survival of the fittest supporter.
Yeah.
Big
Quite an advocate.
Loves Darwin. Has one of those Darwin's Jesus fish on his car to really stick it to the Christian life. But yeah, I like that aspect of him, and he's been like, hibernating or whatever, and now he's come back, and he's just gonna, put the world in its place.
Right.
Only the strong survive. That's cool. Seems like, I'm just glad we're getting someone other than like Magneto is kind of the big bad, which the movies have really focused on. Yeah. And I love Fassbender as Magneto too.
Yeah, me too.
But like, he's such an anti-hero that like, they need a full-on villain.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And so, I like the actor playing him too, Oscar Isaacs, is just shooting for the moon right now.
Yeah, he's
tied to every franchise that you could that a geek could fall in love with.
Did you hear anything about the movie coming out? Because the embargo at this time of this recording has been lifted, and reviews are out.
I've heard non-favorable reviews, but I haven't read any because I kind of want to go in blind.
Me being not a huge X-Men fan.
Me
being not a huge X-Men fan. I've read a few and listened to some, and they're all just kind of the common consensus. A lot of it reminds me of what was going on with like a lot of movies coming on this summer. A lot is crammed in there, and you just have to pace it well enough and make sure everyone gets enough screen time and make sure it flows well, which some movies have this year and some movies haven't.
I've heard, the only thing I've really heard was I caught a couple negative buzz about it being like the most disaster porny of the X-Men, if that makes any sense.
But you can get that from the trailers.
Yeah, and it's like, for the most part, the X-Men movies have kind of steered away from that. I don't even think of the X-Men films as like superhero-y. I think of them more as sci-fi.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they're all kind of low-key. Very rarely are they universe-spanning or even world-spanning.
Which is weird, because in the comics, like, they are universe-spanning.
But they've always played it, even, take, for example, one of the worst X-Men movies, 3.
Right.
That rather than do the space opera Dark Phoenix saga, they ground it into, like, a Jean Grey's possessed split personality type of thing and keep it very low-key.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, by this point, it's like, I'm good. I'd say they're due for like a big thing. They really haven't yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So if the first mutant comes back and he's big on like eradicate humanity, only the strong survive, then like, we've had like 9 movies, so sure, it's time to up the stakes, I guess. I'm cool with that. He's the apocalypse. I mean, and he's bringing with him the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So mass destruction. Bring it on. It's not like it happens every week in the X-Men universe. So it's fresh enough.
Yeah.
I've always been a big Archangel fan.
Couldn't tell.
Got the shirt here. Got it special for the show. Redbubble.com. He's always been one of my favorite X-Men characters. And he's one of those that no one ever really knows what to do with him.
Yeah.
So I just assumed, like, they'll pick Wolverine as like the Angel of Death because everyone knows Wolverine.
Right.
And the fact that they kind of botched Angel in X-Men 3 and didn't do anything with him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, they're probably not going to use him. Whatever. But then they did, and they're like showing him off in the trailers and everything, and he has the feathered wings, and then he goes into the full metal wings. So I'm like, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm glad they threw him in. Whatever they do with him, cool. And having Magneto part of it, like, yes, that makes sense. And you include, your fan favorites and the people that you've established in the movies. Throw in Storm and Psylocke for, the cool, kick-ass female characters.
It's Mohawk Storm, though.
Oh, man.
I love Mohawk Storm.
We should talk about the 80s.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Let's just talk about it. Cocaine, big hair.
Quaaludes.
Yes.
Oh, Quaaludes.
It's funny because Age of Apocalypse is a futuristic storyline, but yet this takes place in the past.
Yeah.
As all of this, essentially this X-Men series is kind of its own trilogy.
Right.
They did the first X-Men trilogy where they fucked up the end one with 3. Took a breather to make the worst X-Men movie of all time with Wolverine Origins. And then they came back swinging with First Class, Days of Future Past, and now this kind of rounds out their period piece trilogy, which I think is awesome. They're doing a different decade every one. Like, what a great way to do sequels, prequels, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And this one takes place in the 80s, which is the perfect setting for the X-Men,
Yeah, right.
I feel like they're not quite upping the costumes in total 80s attire that they could.
Sure.
But, I can't complain. They've got Psylocke in the full Psylocke costume. They've
spot on.
Got Nightcrawler in Magneto, a Michael Jackson jacket.
Yeah.
Mohawk Storm. I'm good.
I even saw a little screenshot that there's a Dazzler cameo.
Is there really? Because they have to have Dazzler.
I think they're going through a record store, and Cyclops pulls up he's like, oh, I like this one, and it's a Dazzler record or something like that. So that's
all she needs to be in
it. Contrary to what Comic Book Girl 19 says.
Yes.
Because she's the Dazzler fan #1.
Yeah. And really, if you want to know the full history of the X-Men, after watching our video and then liking it and commenting on it, just
as one does,
a good person, go watch her videos because she's given a full history of the X-Men in a trilogy of its own, which might rival the X-Men movies in length as it is.
Yeah. The third part I think is coming out pretty soon on Vimeo if you want to check it out.
So that'll give you all the X-Men backstory that we're not going to get into because this guy isn't a big fan.
So do you remember anything about actually the Age of Apocalypse storyline?
No, I've never read it.
Did you read the wiki or see the cartoon?
No, I figured you'd do that.
I did.
All right.
So here we go. So, from what I can remember, there's a person that comes into the past named Legion, maybe? And I know, it's already gross-inducing, but he happens to be Charles Xavier's son, and he's trying to kill Magneto, but in doing so, Professor Xavier, jumps in front of the bullet, and he ends up killing his own dad.
Those paraplegics, they can conserve their strength for one feet.
Really going at it. Unless he was in his floaty chair and just took it to Mach 2.
Yes.
And so, with now Xavier dead, it somehow spurs Apocalypse coming 10 years sooner than what he did in the real continuity. And the only person that knows this happened in the future changed is Bishop, who is also a time jumper. Yeah, cue honky-tonk music.
Oh, man.
And so he goes and tries to rewrite that by having save Xavier, but while all that is happening, Apocalypse in the Age of is going on.
One of the takeaways, or one of the kind of cool aspects of Age of Apocalypse was Magneto leads the X-Men at that point.
Yeah.
Charles is dead.
Right.
Magneto is a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cyclops, I think, is a bad guy in it.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe not. Wolverine only has one hand. I know that. Maybe someone has an eye patch. No, it's a future. Everyone has eye patches.
Everyone has an eye patch or two.
They pop them on everybody. A lot of pouches. A lot of cyborg arms.
Pouches aplenty.
Cable's in it, right?
I think he's in Days of Future Past.
I don't think he is.
I think he is, though.
No, he's not.
Are you sure?
We don't know anything about what we're talking about.
If there's anything that I want to do with the X-Men is go back and read these big, massive events that everybody was into in the 90s. Even though it looks like a slog to probably get through, and maybe some of it is. But, like, they were the biggest thing in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So, out of morbid curiosity, even me not liking them so much, still have, like an inkling to go and just at least get them from the library or something.
Hopefully that's everything you would ever want to know about Age of Apocalypse. What do you think the movie's going to be like?
I don't know. I think it's probably not going to be as good as the last few.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I'm just not a huge Apocalypse fan, so maybe that's it. And maybe it's just this, like, the destruction, Roland Emmerich kind of stuff I've already seen in the trailers, and it's like, it looks just exhausting already. And I don't know.
I'm hoping they're highlighting a lot of that stuff for the trailers, because the trailers have to bring in the biggest, common denominator there. So they just action, adventure. I remember in all the Days of Future Past, they just had, Magneto lifting the stadium and all kinds of destruction, but that's such a small part of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, the movie's almost like a political espionage, time travel type thing. It's not a big destruction thing.
No.
This one could be more, but again, I say, like, by this point, they've kind of earned it.
Yeah. But, I mean, even with Days of Future Past, you did see him, like, lift a stadium, but you could tell, like, he was just lifting a stadium. Like, there's that one shot where everything's just getting sucked into a vortex. I was like, what is going on?
Apocalypse power.
Oh, duh! Anyway.
He got all his apocalypse power charged up, and then he shot a blast, and it did all that stuff.
Just gray CGI going into the sky.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that makes sense.
I think that's what he has in the comics from time to time.
Who knows?
What do you think of the X-Men movies as a whole? The franchise?
I think they're actually pretty good. I was on board when they came out with the first one in, like, 2000, was it?
Yeah. You got to give them a lot of credit.
They were the ones spurring the whole thing, that and, like, Spider-Man.
Yeah, and X-Men kind of kicked it off from The Matrix, where the black leather was cool, and at that point, Hollywood studios, producers were not ready for costumes. So they got in any way they could with, like, the cool black leather and everything. And, like, for X-Men, it worked, because they're kind of like a strike team. It's all right. I would have loved to see the full-on costumes. I don't know if we'll ever get them. We're inching towards them, but who knows? But, like, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I liked them at the time.
I liked them at the time, too. I don't even know if the public, though, besides, like, the strict comic fans,
knew what they were missing.
Yeah, I don't think it would have gone over well. I don't think they would have been at the point yet where they could have adapted the comic costume into, like, a practical-looking real-life one.
No.
Besides just having it be the joke that Cyclops says in X-Men 1, yellow spandex.
Do you think we'll ever get Wolverine in any sort of comic-accurate costume?
I have high hopes for Wolverine 3.
Yeah, and that could be the last time we get it.
There was that deleted scene in The Wolverine.
Well, could be the last time Hugh Jackman does it.
Yeah, that's
chances are Fox are going to hold on to X-Men forever. Because
they will.
They will not give it up. It's making money. So eventually I assume they'll recast Wolverine. Yeah. And at that point, and now costumes are big, superheroes are big, I bet you eventually we will get a Wolverine in costume with the weird mask and all that.
With recasting, I think this is the only superhero franchise at this point that can actually do successfully recasting of all their characters, because they've already done it.
I really like the X-Men films. I think it's a solid superhero franchise. There's 2 missteps in it.
Yeah.
Which are big missteps.
And they were one terrible. Right after the other.
Yes, it was a 1-2 punch that, like, just killed it. And then, like, when First Class came out, no one knew what to really think about it. And then it turned out, like, it had to be really good to pick up the pieces. Yeah. And it was. And, like, it was enough to get everyone back on board.
Yeah.
And now, like, it's going forward.
Right.
And we've got more spin-offs and everything. But overall, I mean, they got 7, 8 movies, 9 maybe, and 2 bad ones. That's not bad. That's a pretty good track record.
That's true. With this doing as much as they are, with what they have, which is balls to the wall, time travel, whatever.
Yep.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, I like the X-Men movies, and I'm hoping this one continues the path onward. Deadpool was a blast, so that's one more really random, weird direction they can take it if they want. Hopefully they don't turn everything towards that direction.
No.
It was a breath of fresh air that could easily be overdone.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, maybe they've got a Gambit movie in the works. Apparently there's X-Force stuff. Who knows? But the X-Men movie's pretty solid.
Yeah. I actually heard a little bit of rumors going forward that the next movie that they already have in the slate is going to be in the 90s. Because they're just jumping ahead.
God, I hope so.
So you can expect more pouches.
Yep. More of those weird tube sock...
More of those sock mask things.
Yep.
So that'd be cool.
All right. So as we kind of wind this down, you're not a big X-Men fan.
No.
I like them enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not super well versed in them. Any X-Men reading that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men. That was really good. And there's
absolutely
4 trades of that.
Mm-hmm. Why is that one good?
It just is. It's like a Kitty Pryde story. For the most part.
You're not selling me.
No, listen. And he works with an ensemble really well to give a lot of people their own voices. A lot of people complain that they don't like Whedon-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, like, really good. The ending is so good.
Yeah.
Like tear-inducing good.
Yeah.
And,
I love it. It's one of my favorite X-Men. I would say that might be the best X-Men story, book, X-Men run I've ever read.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
A while ago, we read Grant Morrison's New X-Men. It was actually the inaugural Imperius Rex book club.
Before it was this,
before it went worldwide, it just cultivated here in this room.
Yeah.
And we just drank beers and talked about it without cameras rolling. Lo-fi technology.
And if only there were cameras then, because I think it went on for hours.
Yeah.
But
the illustrious and mysterious third man of the Imperius Rex group was part of that too.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
he'll make an appearance.
But yeah, New X-Men was pretty good.
That kind of relaunched the X-Men comic
right around
book.
when the first movie came out.
Yeah,
too.
it did, and they tied them in with like the leather jackets and everything.
Yep.
Frank Quietly redesigned them all, and just phenomenal artwork.
Yeah, all the Frank Quietly stuff
Beautiful.
is the best stuff in that New X-Men run for sure.
Every once in a while, an artist and a writer make such a perfect pairing.
Yeah. Where,
like, you're reading them and it's fantastic, and then, like, the writer takes a break and a fill-in artist takes over.
Yeah.
And it's like a different writer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they work so well together. It's such a, like,
symbiosis.
Synergy. Yes. Yes, and then someone else goes on, and it's just, like, it's a mess.
Right.
And then the new guy, or the original one comes back in, and it just flows right back into it, and that's how New X-Men is.
Yeah.
It's a good run. Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. We carry a torch for him.
Yeah.
It's a good X-Men run if you're not super familiar with the characters, and just a good jumping on point. And Astonishing X-Men picks up really...
almost right after.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Anything else?
Good ones.
I have one more.
Okay.
And it might fulfill your apocalypse itch if you don't want to dive into this messy Age of Apocalypse. It was Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender.
Yeah.
And he did a pretty long run on it. I've read the first half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that all leads up to the Dark Angel saga, where Archangel eventually becomes like the next coming of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And he creates his own 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. And prior to that, he was Angel, Warren Worthington, X-Man, but the Apocalypse gene inside him is like taking over and driving him mad.
Yeah.
And eventually it just completely overtakes him, and they have to fight him, and it's excellent. Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah. I have not yet read that one, but currently the Paper Keg podcasts are doing that in a 2-part episode. And so you should check that out. I think it's episodes 249 and 250.
But they're awesome, too. They're good guys. So definitely check them out if you're in the podcast mood. If you don't want to stare at our beautiful faces.
It's true. But that's pretty much all I got to say about X-Men.
Yeah. They're hit or miss, you know? If it's your thing, you might like all of it. Our X-Men aficionado, who wasn't able to join us, has every issue. Yeah. Loves them.
So they must be doing something right somewhere, right?
Yeah, I guess. Or just out of compulsion and habit. So, overall, you know, it's a good series. It got me into comics and everything with the cartoon. It launched kind of the superhero movie in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And they're doing good stuff in the comics. Like, it's still popular. Even though Marvel and Fox have, like, a disagreement, there's still X-Men comics going wild right now.
Yep.
And lots of great writers on them, too. So chances are you can pick up a good X-Men book anytime you want.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of bullshit behind them that, you can sort out if you want to. But yeah, right now, good time to be an X-Men fan.
Mm-hmm.
Finally getting Apocalypse, getting a lot of that cool shit, so yeah.
That's what you're into.
Yep.
So there you go. It's probably everything you didn't want to know and didn't get to know about the X-Men.
Yes. Well put.
But until next time, I'm Toward the Max Extreme.
And if you're joining us today, you're right back where you started on terms of X-Men knowledge, courtesy of Ghost Hunter Dave and Troy Potter.
All right. So until next time, we'll catch you next week.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
Sorry.